Hi, Oak Grove community. My name is Mindy Hampton, Superintendent of Schools. I wanted to take a minute and share a little bit of information about the April 8th tax levy question that the school district has placed on the ballot. Several people have asked about some detailed information, and this presentation will give that to you, so let's get started. First question is, what's the difference between a levy and a bond? Which is a great question. Oak Grove schools have gone to the voters several times in the past few years asking for permission to run a bond, which is for capital improvement projects such as construction, building repairs, and equipment. This isn't an increase in taxes, it's just permission to take out a loan in order to get the money to do those big projects and pay off over time. Projects that the district has done the past few years is complete renovation of the middle school, new windows at the complete renovation of the elementary school, new chiller and solar panels, new roof at the middle school. Early Childhood Center was added and reconstructed over at the primary, and the high school got new cafeteria and front offices and entrances. We also recently, last year, passed a bond and are doing, as you can see here in the picture, new construction. Will start this spring, summer, and it is a new entrance, commons, locker rooms, wrestling room, auxiliary room, weight room, new bathrooms, new connection to the PAC, and all of that was done with bonds. A levy is the money that's based off taxes that come to districts in order to do operating costs such as salaries and benefits. So the district is asking for a two-part question, all in one measure, one vote yes or one vote no. And the two things that we're asking for, the first thing is 70-cent transfer from our debt service. So we have 4 buckets of funds that all of our money goes into, and our debt service levy is set at $1.86, and that's plenty of money to pay off all of our debt. And we have enough money to transfer 70 cents and to still continue paying off our debt. 70-cent transfer would put the funds in operation funds, which allow us to use those funds to pay salaries, so we can increase the salaries for our staff and our hourly employees. We're going to do that over 3 years, 30 cents the first year and 20 cents 2 years after that. The other ask we have is a 60-cent overall levy increase, and we know that this is a big ask. The district hasn't asked for a levy increase since the mid-'80s, so it's been 40 years. And we would do that over 3 years as well, 20 cents the first year, another 20 cents the next year, and another 20 cents that following year. In doing so, we're still able to maintain our debt service, and we're able to do future bond projects if we need to keep our facilities updated. So what would we do with the rest of that money is we're really wanting to retain our amazing teachers, recruit the best staff possible, enhance our programming, and invest in safety and security. One of the great traditions of Oak Grove, compared to other schools, is that we do have smaller class sizes than all the schools to our west. So we want to be able to continue to do that. But in the last 3 years, we've lost 10 staff members to Grain Valley or Blue Springs due to pay. So we've got to make our pay more competitive so we can keep these great teachers at Oak Grove for our kids. We also need to be able to recruit staff. Last year, we didn't receive enough applications to fill all of our positions. So we had 6 classroom positions that we had to fill with retired teachers. We went to them and said, we need help for a year, help us fill this hole. There's less and less kids going in high school graduates going into college for education, which means it's producing less teachers. So we are in a teacher shortage crisis in the state of Missouri. But if we can increase our pay, then hopefully new students coming out of college and other teachers around other school districts appreciate small class sizes and will come to Oak Grove to fill those positions. We also want to enhance our programming. There's programs that we want to add to meet needs of all kids and all different types of learners. We're looking at wanting to add an agriculture program with an FFA program. We'd also like to add an apprenticeship program which allows kids work opportunities for job skills and on-the-job training, all while earning high school credits, but also having income for their own selves or to help support their families. We also want to increase our participation in our vocational programs. We send students to Fort Osage, Blue Springs, and Lee Summit for a variety of different vocational training and programs, but all of that costs tuition. 3 years ago, we sent about 30 students a year to these 3 programs. Next year, we're looking at needing to send 50 kids, but we have more than that applying and interested, and if we had the funds, we could send more kids. We also want to add a STEM program, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, into the high school, which requires computer labs and equipment to do so. And always we want to continue to invest in the safety and security, increasing campus security through various measures, security cameras, visitor management systems. So that's what we would do with our funds. So several have asked, why do we need to increase a levy? So there's a couple of different reasons, but all in all, everything costs more. We know that. But also, the state of Missouri keeps declining the amount of funding it gives its schools. In 2002, 51% of Oak Grove, all of their revenue, came from the state of Missouri. In 2022, just 20 years later, less than 38%. So we keep getting less state funding, which requires the district to rely heavily on our local tax dollars. Missouri is ranked 47th in the nation in the percent of state funds that are allocated to public schools. So in all of Missouri's budget, the percent that they give to public schools is so low, it's ranked 47th out of the 50 in the nation. And so that's a terrible statistic, but we can't control that, unfortunately. Another statistic that, another information to share is the Hancock Amendment. The Hancock Amendment is a threshold that protects public voters, public taxpayers. And essentially it says from year to year, your taxes can't influx more than a certain percent. So with assessed evaluations changing and a variety of different measures, it protects that taxpayer. So it requires the tax entity like the school or the fire or the library to have to roll back their tax to stay within that dollar threshold. So as you can see here in the past 7 years, the amount of money that Oak Grove has had to roll back and loss in revenue each year, which is a total of $6.7 million. That's significant to our operation of our school district. And so that's an average of $1.1 million every year. So that's another reason we're looking at needing that's lost revenue that we kind of had budgeted and we planned for. That's another reason that we're asking for this tax levy. And again, just a reminder that we haven't asked for a levy increase since the mid-'80s, so over 40 years. So where does our money go? This is just a chart to show you what percent of all of our expenses, what percent all of that goes to. So you can see 20% cut off here a little bit, but 20% goes to all of our buildings and grounds, the custodians, the maintenance, the facilities, maintaining, updating, fixing, repairing, utilities of all of our buildings and our entire campus, asphalt, concrete, etc. And then our elementary K-5 education, our high school, our middle school, you can see 15% of all of our budget goes to elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade, 9% goes to high school, 8% to middle school. So this elementary does combine primary and elementary schools. We spend 8% of our budget on special education, 6% on transportation, 4% on administrative costs, 4% on that bond, those debts that we pay off, 4% on all of our curriculum training, curriculum writing, curriculum resources, 4% in technology, 4% early childhood and parents as teachers, 3% on all of our athletics and activities that we provide for students and experiences, 3% on food service, 3% on title programs, and then these two little pie charts, this would be 1% for health services and 1% for our counseling services. So just wanted to share all of that with everyone to show you where our funds go. And this slide also shows you how much money we spend per student compared to other districts. So to kind of show that even though we're asking for more money, we're not excessively spending. We're building programming within the money and the means that we have. And also note here that 70% of all of our expenses go to staff salaries and benefits. So we put our money and we invest it in the most important thing, which is our teachers and our staff, to make a difference in our kids' lives and their learning. But with that, it goes to say that if we have to make cuts because the tax levy doesn't pass and we don't have the funds, then we have to cut staff. That's our biggest cost-saving measure as well, is cutting staff. And in cutting staff, we don't want to, because that would increase class sizes, and that's something that we really, as a school district and board, value, is that Oak Grove has smaller class sizes. This slide is sharing our Oak Grove salaries compared to surrounding school district salaries. So you can see here, first-year teacher, bachelor degree, where we pay comparison to other schools, 10-year teacher with a master's degree where we pay in comparison, and then a 25-year veteran teacher with a specialist degree and where we pay. This is the biggest discrepancy. This is the gap that we've got to close. So before the teacher shortage statewide, every school district would cap the number of years of service they would allow a new employee to bring in, and most capped it at 10 years. So if a teacher came to Oak Grove, we'd let them bring 10 years of experience with them. So most teachers didn't leave at the end of their career as a veteran teacher, they wouldn't leave and go to another school district because it wasn't monetarily beneficial to them because they couldn't bring all their years of service. Well, since we've had the teacher shortage and every school district is looking for great teachers, most school districts have eliminated that 10-year rule, and they let you bring all your years of service. So in the previous slides where I said we lost 10 staff members to Oak Grove or Green Valley the past few years, because look here, they were veteran teachers and they could go to Oak Grove and Green Valley and take big pay raises their last few years to help their retirement. So this is the gap we have to close. This is a way where we have to have additional funds to keep our teachers, especially our experienced teachers, at Oak Grove. And another terrible statistic for the state of Missouri is that Missouri is ranked 50th in teacher base pay. We are the lowest teacher base pay state in the entire nation. But again, part of that is because we're ranked 47th in the amount of funds that the state is giving to public schools. And another little statistic just to share about the chronic teacher shortage. This year in Missouri, schools were short 3,458 teachers for classrooms. Oak Grove, we had 6. We had to bring in veteran teachers 4. So that just goes to show there's a lot less people to recruit for those jobs, and pay is a large draw-in for that. Good schools, good culture, small class sizes, all of those are important too. Supportive families, and Oak Grove has all of that. We're just missing the piece of better pay. This slide is to kind of just give a comparison of what the area tax levies are. And the far right over here, you can see how many schools have had to go to their patrons and ask for a transfer and an increase because of needing additional funding. You can see where Oak Grove's total levy is towards the bottom. And you can see that our operating levy is second to the lowest, and our debt service levy is second to the highest. So this kind of shows where we need that to transfer 70 cents from debt service to operational to help us pay staff a little bit more. So how does tax levy work, and what is 60 cents going to do to me if I'm a voter at Oak Grove? So taxes are divided by personal property, residential, agriculture, and commercial, and then you're paid 33% of the assessed value of your personal property, 19% of your residential, etc. So if I own a vehicle, truck, trailer, and ATV, boat maybe, that value at $30,000, I'm going to pay 33% of that in taxes. So of the tax rate that is set. So $9,999 is going to then be times that tax rate. So whatever the tax rate the district, the fire department, the school district, or the library set, you're going to pay that percent of taxes off this amount of money. So if we raised 60 cents of our tax levy, so this times our current new tax levy, it would be a difference of $19.99 year 1, $39.99 year 2, and $59.99 year 3. So that's what that person would pay on if they had $30,000 worth of a marketed value property. So this one breaks it down just a little bit different. We gave the scenario here that if I'm a homeowner and my house is appraised at $300,000 and I have 2 vehicles at $15,000, what does a 60-cent increase look like for me? And you can see where it'd be phased in, 20 cents a year over the next 3 years. This person who owns that $300,000 house and 2 $15,000 vehicles would see a $114 increase a year for their home and $20 an increase a year for their car for the next 3 years. So it would total nearly $400 total at the end of 3 years increase, which is $33.50 monthly. And so we know that that's a big ask. We know things are tight, but we also know that our schools are the heart of our community and our teachers are the heart of our school. So this slide is just sharing the ballot language. It's really complicated. It's a little confusing, so I wanted to break it down a little bit. This first little paragraph is statutory language that's stating our overall operating levy is going to increase $1.30 because of the 70-cent transfer and the 60-cent increase. And it also states what we're going to do with those funds by increasing staff pay to retain and attract teachers, as well as enhance our district technology. And then this next paragraph says, oh, by the way, we are going to deduct and reduce the debt because we're going to we transferred from debt service, so we're also then going to reduce 30 cents year 1, 20 cents year 2, 20 cents year 3, which gives the overall increase of 60 cents by year 2027. So it does get confusing. This is the total new levy minus the debt service for the total increase of 60 cents by year 2027. So I've been asked, what's at risk? If this tax levy doesn't pass, what's at risk? And so these are considerations that the school board and our administrative team will have to make. But definitely it would be cutting, not replacing staff who are leaving, which is going to increase class sizes, which we know we don't want to do, and it's not good for kids, but it's financially what we would have to do. We'd have to look at cuts in transportation. Most school districts have a 1 mile radius to pick up students, so we would look at that 1 mile radius. For Oak Grove, it would save 3 bus routes, which is thousands of dollars a year. So we would look at that, which puts more on parents to have to provide their own transportation, or students to walk and ride a bike if they're within that 1 mile radius. We would also have to look at decreasing the vocational programming that we have, decrease the amount of participation and tuition we pay to Fort Osage Blue Springs Technology, which means less kids going on to get those experiences. We would also have to look at not being able to provide some new programming, as mentioned before, with Ag, FFA, STEM, and the apprenticeship work programs. And then a final discussion we'd have to make is, do we need to implement fees for pay to play, co-curricular and extracurricular? There's a lot of fundraising that goes on in those entities, but would we have to do more fundraising and add pay to play? So those are discussions that we would have to ask ourselves and have decisions to make if this tax levy weren't to pass. So 4 key things to remember. Our staff are amazing. We are losing good staff to higher paying districts, and we have to increase our salaries in order to do so. The state of Missouri put a mandate, a state law in that next year minimum salary has to be $40,000. So we have to increase salaries at least to that, but we have to have the funds to do it. And the number one indicator of overall student success is an effective teacher. So we've got to pay these great teachers so they'll stay at Oak Grove and come to Oak Grove. It's been 40 years since we've asked for a levy increase, and our need is right now. A little plug, just because we know the rivalry between Oak Grove and Odessa. Oak Grove teachers, right now, we pay less than Odessa, and we're right between Oak Grove and Green Valley, obviously, and being in the middle and paying less is not beneficial for our district. And then finally, just a note too, if you are a senior citizen and you did apply for the tax levy, the tax freeze through Jackson County, for your residential properties, this would not affect you. Your freeze for last year would be your last year tax dollar amount. So if this levy were to increase your tax, if you applied for that, your tax levy would not increase. And that's for Jackson County senior citizens. I hope this answers some of your questions. There is a link on here too that we'll put in for you to go to some frequently asked questions, as well as a link for this presentation to continually to educate yourself and be an informed voter on April 8th. This is my email address and phone number to the office. So if you have additional questions, please reach out and ask those questions. We're happy to answer them, and it might trigger some more education that we need to provide to our taxpayers and then the community. Thank you for your time, and as always, please reach out with any questions.